Hi TerraTube, Laura from Aquamarine 18 here. Just jumping on quickly to answer a tag, which is called 10 questions that every tarot reader should answer. This is a tag that I think, predates my time making videos on TerraTube here, but it's recently been kind of resuscitated and is going around again. So it, I think, has been rejuvenated by Heather Carter, whose channel is actually new to me, and I've started following. But I learned about this tag from two fellow content creators whose channels that I follow. One is B at Ikale Sunflower, and the other is Juli at Peekaboorose. So I will link both of their videos answering these questions below, as well as Heather Carter's video. And you can search for others that were posted quite a long time ago, actually. And the original questions for this tag come from Left Hand Tarot. So there are 10 questions, as the name of the tag suggests, and I think that this should be a pretty quick video for me. So I'll post the questions here below as well, just for reference. So the first question is, were you mentored or were you self-taught? And for me, I think it's about 90% self-taught. I learned about tarot with mostly books, library books I've accumulated over the years, little white books, lots and lots of reading. And then I guess more recently, over the past couple of years, really via YouTube as well, though I wasn't really engaging with YouTube even as a viewer when I started. Very much book taught, I would say. But after kind of reading a lot of books by the same authors, I think there are definitely some folks who, of course, I've never met in person, who feel like mentors in different ways. But I will say self-taught for question number 1. Question number 2 is, are you a psychic or a tarot reader? Tarot reader, very definitively. I do not think of myself as a psychic. I don't identify as a psychic. Intuitive, certainly, and I think divination of any sort involves working with one's intuition, and for me, kind of bringing what is kind of subconscious to the forefront with the cards to kind of help bring that forward and kind of really facilitate going deep. And I think that intuition, which I think everyone kind of talks about intuition, and we don't necessarily always have a conversation about what exactly it means or what it entails. So it's useful, I think, having it contrasted to psychic in this question. And for me, I think intuition is something that everyone has, really. It's not a kind of secret ability or mysterious ability in any way. I think everyone has intuition, but I do think that it's kind of like a muscle, in that utilizing it in a deliberate kind of way, in a ritual or repetitive or somewhat routinized kind of way, can strengthen it, right? And I think that having a tarot practice has made me a more intuitive person, absolutely, and continues to, but I don't consider that to be psychic or to make me psychic. So that's question number 2. Number 3 asks, are your predictions accurate, and is accuracy important to you? So like a few others who have answered this question, I don't really use tarot to make predictions. I don't use any kind of divination method to make predictions. Obviously, there are many folks who do, and I don't. In saying that I don't, that's not me passing judgment or suggesting that others shouldn't engage in predictive reading, or that there's anything wrong with that. It's just not really something that I do, at least not in any kind of specific way that we could really talk about being kind of accurate or not. So the extent to which I'm willing to engage in predictive reading is with very kind of broad stroke questions like, what energy might surround the day that's just beginning, thinking about pulling a few cards in the morning, right? This isn't really prediction, asking what will or won't happen or how a particular situation will turn out, but perhaps asking in a very general way what might come up during the day or what I could expect. But that's really where predictiveness begins and ends for me. So I don't really think of my tarot reading as accurate or inaccurate. It's just not a question that I really think about or think pertains to how I would use the cards. So, question number 4, is there anything you can't predict in a reading? Rewind and listen to answer number 3. I don't really engage in predictive reading, so the question of whether there's anything I can't predict is a little bit non-applicable. But I guess there's lots of things that I can't predict. I don't think that tarot can tell me definitively things that are or not going to happen that I don't on some level kind of already know, right? I think that we predict things all the time, and I predict things all the time, right? I can predict that if I have a test coming up, I'll do better on that test if I study, right? And I'll do worse on that test if I go to the pub till 2 a.m. the night before, right? And I can pretty much guarantee that prediction will be accurate, but it's certainly not the kind of prediction that we think of when we think of divination or think of psychics. Sorry, my cell phone just went off. I am going to turn off that sound so that does not happen again. There we go. So, is there anything I can't predict? Yes, lots of things. Things that I don't on some level already know. Number 5, do you use only tarot or are you multidisciplinary? Definite multidisciplinary. Tarot for me is predominant, or the kind of system, I guess, that I use the most. I also work with oracle cards. I also work with dice. And there's a book called Elemental Divination, a Dice Oracle, which really kind of got me interested in that. I've read a little bit and played around a little bit with dominoes as well. I also have the journey tokens made by Kelly from The Truthed Story. I'll link to the journey tokens below as well, which are absolutely fantastic, and I'm really enjoying getting to know. And there are a couple of other divination systems, we'll say, that I'm really interested in potentially learning someday, but that I really don't, I can't call myself multidisciplinary in just yet. I'd really be interested in getting to know Lenormand a little bit better, or at all, really. I've read a little bit about Lenormand, but not much, and I only have one deck. I'd also be really interested in learning about geomancy a little bit. I have one book on geomancy that I've read bits and pieces of, but really on a kind of day-to-day frequent basis. For me, it is tarot, oracle, and dice, and now the journey tokens, which are a fairly recent addition. Question number 6, is the message in the cards or in your head? Head for sure. I think that tarot helps pull out what is submerged or even repressed, using that language in kind of the absolute loosest sense. I think that the messages inside, and perhaps I think I'm going to add kind of in heart and in spirit as well, right? I don't think head in the kind of sense of logical or analytical is the only way of knowing. I think that emotional knowledge is really important and really undervalued. And I think that those things marry really well when it comes to my tarot practice anyway. So, but I wouldn't say that the message is kind of in the cards independent of anything that is in myself, if that makes sense. Question number 7, are you a priest or a fortune teller? No. I don't really feel compelled to expand on that answer all that much, but I am not a priest and I am not a fortune teller. Number 8, are you a fixer or a looker? I really, really like this question, because it's one that I think about a lot. So I read tarot for myself very predominantly. It's, an almost daily thing for me. And when I am playing with the cards for myself, I think I am a fixer-looker combination. I am looking into energies around things in my life. I'm looking into perhaps my deeper kind of thoughts and intuitive attitudes towards things. So that's the looker piece, but also definitely a fixer in the sense that I think, like a lot of us, I go to the cards when I have a problem, as well as just kind of daily practice. If I'm struggling to make a decision, for example, I might pull a few cards for each option and help myself to think through my thoughts in that way. So in that sense, I sometimes very much approach tarot as a kind of fixing tool, right? A tool for facilitating good decision making, for example. I think the question about fixer and looker is a lot more complicated when looking at the cards for other people. And when I look at the cards for other people, it is only really for friends or family. I do not read professionally. I haven't really read for strangers except in the odd practice reading swap online. But generally it's just for friends and family. And I think that it's really important for me when I'm reading the cards for friends, for example, to stay in the domain of looker and stay out of the domain of fixer, and also to be very transparent and very honest about what I'm seeing, right? And where I'm getting information from, right? Because I think, just to take, an example. If a friend came to me, say, and wanted a reading about whether they should stay in the job that they're in or pursue a new career, right? Or stay in the job they're in or look for a different job, go to a different job, pursue a different opportunity. This is a question that I have read for myself with regards to, and then I'm very much in fixer mode, right? I'm thinking, okay, I've got a decision to make here. If I pull a few cards for each of the possible options, this can help me make a decision. But when I'm answering that same question for a friend, I have to be, I think, really mindful of the fact that I may have opinions on that question that are completely independent of the cards, right? If I have a friend who's asking this question about their job or their career, who also happens to be a friend who frequently complains about their job, not complains in a bad kind of complainer way, but frequently expresses dissatisfaction with their job in various kinds of ways, and I know that they're not happy, then I might feel as a compassionate friend that, it might really be time for this person to look at something else. Like they're definitely not happy. The job is kind of wearing them down. But if they then come to me and ask me this question in a tarot reading context, I need to be really careful not to then filter what I think through the cards and say, well, the cards are saying this, as though I'm not just telling them what I already think anyway. I think that there's something, potentially really risky and dishonest about that. I want to be always very clear about where something in particular is coming from, right, when I'm reading for a friend in that kind of way. And I don't want to be engaging in being a fixer, as the question asks, trying to give solutions to a friend's problem, presenting them as though the cards are telling me these things when really they're just what I think already. So that's a really long-winded kind of way of explaining that mostly when I'm reading for friends, I really try not to do the fixing, and certainly not doing so beyond any way that I might just in friendly conversation say, well, have you ever thought about this, or don't you think it might be time to do that? Really, really careful about not pushing my thoughts on someone. Number 9, do you read for a fee or for free? Do you read for free or for a fee? For free. I, again, don't read professionally. I have never taken money for a reading, which is not to say that I never would, and it's not to say that I don't think people should. I think that, spiritual and emotional labor is labor, and if that's your profession, then fees, absolutely. And I have paid for readings from others, absolutely, but I've never charged for them because I really just read for friends and family, and not so often as to make a fee really make sense to me, right? Usually it's a kind of a reading for a birthday or a New Year's or a solstice or something like that, and I don't think that really a fee feels appropriate in that context. If I was doing so really, really regularly for a particular individual, then perhaps. But even then, I'd be inclined towards a kind of barter system, if possible. And the last question is number 10. Is there anything that you won't predict in a reading? I will refer you to rewind back to question number 3 and question number 4. I don't engage in predictive reading. If I rework this question just so that I actually have an answer beyond see above, I would reword it to say something like, is there anything that you won't answer? Is there anything that you won't entertain or do a reading about, right? And in that kind of context, I would probably say things that many, many, many others will have answered with reference to this tag and in other contexts. If someone were to come to me and ask about, how to proceed having received a medical diagnosis or something like this, I would not touch that. No way. Same with kind of legal issues. I think that that's really dangerous. Not that I think any of my friends or family are kind of going to sue me if I'm wrong, but I think that oftentimes, we get these questions and we talk about these questions, and these are the examples we have because people come and ask about getting tarot readings when they are confused or stressed or anxious or worried or afraid, right? And sometimes those feelings can be about kind of really big life-changing things that are, in the case of medical or legal issues, really in the domain of particular kinds of professionals, which I am not, not that kind of doctor. So those are the kinds of questions that I won't answer at all in reference to number 10. So that's the 10 questions that every tarot reader should answer, resuscitated by Heather Carter, which I found via B and Juli's channels. Thank you for bringing back this tag to Heather. I really like tags, and this one was before my time, so it was nice to get a chance to answer these questions. I've been in and out of town and kind of too busy to post lately, but I do have a couple of videos coming up. So stay tuned in particular for my next video, which I intend to be a month of May favorites, covering some crystals, tarot, oracle, and books. So that's it for now. Hope everyone has a great day. See you later.